Good morning, everybody. Welcome to this session on using AI to help detect bias in English text and Arabic text. My name is Tshepo Tshabalala, and I am the manager and team lead for JournalismAI. We're a small initiative based out of Polis at the media department at the London School of Economics, and we are supported by the Google News initiative. So on the JournalismAI Fellowship, we work with several newsrooms from around the world, and really on this program, the idea is to have news organizations teaming up or pairing up with other news organizations to come up with new AI solutions to help newsrooms work with AI. So on this particular fellowship in 2023, we selected 32 journalists and technologists from 50 news organizations from around the world who collaborated on 6 self-selected teams working with AI to enhance reporting and other journalism processes. So we had teams from Kenya, the UK, Australia, Jordan, Germany, Brazil, Malaysia, India, the Netherlands, and Canada. So it's a truly global program that we do on a yearly basis, and we've just completed a selection of participants for this year's cohort who will begin their work in a couple of weeks' time. So joining me today is Ipek and Defne, who were part of last year's fellowship, and they will be showcasing their plugin that they created, and they were part of a team that encompassed the Arab Reporters for Investigative Journalism Network. So you have Saja there and Khalid, who unfortunately couldn't join us today, but they were part of, they contributed to the Arabic bit of this project, and as well as we had Marianne and Kevin, who were part of ABC News Australia. So you can imagine a collaboration of teams from, 3 continents who work together over time zones to come up with the solution. So truly a global project, but also shows the extent and the hard work that goes into collaboration across newsrooms, departments, and journalists. So I will stop talking because this is not about me, and I will hand over to Defne and Ipek to share a bit about this plugin.
Thank you for the great introduction, Tshepo. So hi, I'm Defne. I'm a journalist with Deutsche Welle, as he just explained. And when I first saw the fellowship, I was quite excited about how it encouraged us journalists to think about the problems we face on a daily basis and come up with solution-oriented designs and prototypes. And after the first initial application, we quickly realized that we were not the only ones who wanted to tackle the issue of bias and discrimination. So it was a really great chance to meet colleagues from all around the world, and we teamed up with the other journalists and technologists, which we later called as Bias Blocker, to come up with a tool that would help journalists to mitigate bias and discrimination in a media environment. And we thought of this as a self-help mechanism, a recommendation system, not as a tool that would rewrite all your texts or do it for yourself, do something that will do the work, your work, that you are responsible for. But hopefully, we thought that this could help some people to reduce the number of steps, repetitive tasks that they are doing on a daily basis, especially if you're in a newsroom. Think of yourself, think of a journalist, think of an editor. You are carried away between a lot of tasks, and among many other things, one of your primary tasks is to make sure that your language is intact, it's not discriminatory, it's not biased, and it can get really easy to get carried away, and we hope that we could provide a infrastructure baseline for everyone that can work on this issue altogether. And so, yeah, this is for journalists who want to be mindful of their language, who want to have an awareness about biased ways of thinking and writing. And now we would like to show you the live demonstration of it, but if you could go back to the slides, I have a couple of remarks there. So here you can see our GitHub repository, and there you can find the source code and to install to your PC and local server. You can give it a try, and you are more than welcome to provide us some feedback. We are really looking forward to it. And the code book on which the prototype is based on, and it includes the editorial guidelines we developed throughout this process of 6 months. And another note that I have is that this tool is under development, it's under construction. It's not for active use, no one's using it actively right now, and we don't do it, you shouldn't do it right now, and it might provide some inaccurate or incomplete results, and we are certain that it will do it. It might have too much of some things, too little of other things, but let's work on it together, collaborate. So yes, now we can show you the tool. We prepared some examples, and I won't be enjoying reading them out loud. It feels super weird, but these are real examples that we gathered just from regular news websites. This is from a tabloid, of course, and I can imagine you thinking that this is strange. Passionate eater, quote unquote, Britney Spears reveals her normal weight after accusing Dad Jamie of calling her fat. This was a title we picked up from a tabloid. And what our tool does is that you can paste the sentence you have, and if you go and check for biases, the very first thing that the tool does is an analysis about bias detection. So it will tell you if the text span contains bias or not, yes or no. And if it's a yes, the next thing that it's going to do will be determining the topic that it operates under. In this case, it came up with the context of gender. Gender is not the only one that we worked with. So gender, bias on ethnicity, race, age, religion, migration were the only ones that we were able to tackle for the English version. And we also have an Arabic version that were developed by our colleagues at Irish. It works with gender-based bias, mainly. And I'm pretty sure you can think of other topics of bias, but we had limitations due to data and time. And we basically prioritized our needs for this short period of time. We just thought, what is feasible, what can we do, what can't we do, and focused on the things that we were able to. And the next thing that it's going to do will be the highlighting part. So it's going to highlight the parts where it thinks that could be potentially problematic. And for this one, it will show you the parts that it highlighted. And there are different forms, so it's not self-explanatory, and that's something that we'd like to work on. It says there's framing bias, as in labeling or word choice. And if you go under, it's gonna show you the problematic parts and provide a revision about what can be done. Now, this is not perfect. This is not the best thing we can do as journalists. And again, I repeat, it's just a basic infrastructure where we worked on what we can do. But yeah, this is one example that I can show it to you. And this is a real headline. So I'm pretty sure you're thinking that I won't write this, or no one in my newsroom will be writing something like this. But I think it's important to show something from real life, and that reminds us that bias and discrimination is still a widespread problem that we face no matter where it is. And another example we have is this one. President Donald Trump gloated over mass layoffs at multiple news outlets on Saturday, tweeting that many others will follow and attributing to the loss to the fake news. And if we may go through the same process, once again, you're going to see an analysis by the model, which says there is bias on a political topic, and then it's going to highlight where it finds problematic, and you will see a revision. If you go, and you might wonder many things, but I'm pretty sure you are also thinking of other bias types. It could have been a spin bias, for instance, or there is cognitive bias involved, yes. But we had long discussions about what kind of categorization we wanted to use, and we decided to use the certain categorization that is under the umbrella term of media bias. And we used the literature from computational linguistics, which is a field that studies the interaction between human language and computer for the sake of simplicity and feasibility for our mission. And so, following from here, there is a link here that we can share with you later on, or you can see it on GitHub as well, where you can try your own examples. But the things that we prioritized, and this is ordered in the ways which it works the best, bias detection, and the worst part is the revision part for now. So topic detection and bias detection part, the results we have are statistically more significant than the other parts, and due to some data restraints. And yeah, please feel free to ask if you have any questions about the editorial side of things. And now I'm going to pass it to my colleague Ipek, who's going to talk about the technology behind us.
Thank you, Defne. I am Ipek from Deutsche Welle team. I am working as a data scientist in the team, and I was responsible of implementing AI component of the bias blocker. To implement our AI-powered tool, our primary goal is to ensure that editors are always in the loop of decision-making. As you see in the diagram, the human who has many questions are our core component, our editors. This is important for integrating editorial value into the AI component. Our editors regularly evaluate models, and they were always key actors for the decisions in our workflow itself. And initially, we designed a simple prompt, which is an instruction to large language model to perform bias detection and correction, just to see the limitations of the popular large language models, such as Llama 2, GPT-4, and ChatGPT. This prompt did not include any journalistic guidelines. Additionally, we trained T5 models, which is a simpler version of Llama 2. We trained on a Wikipedia correction dataset, which is publicly available research dataset, focused on correcting Wikipedia text and to neutralize information within the text. We obtained results on a subset of another publicly available dataset for bias detection, which is also collected by academics and is publicly available. Our editors examined the output of this model based on journalistic criteria they define and the bias definitions in our codebook. For example, one criterion evaluated whether the models produce hallucinations, do they preserve semantic meaning of the text, or do they alter the writing styles. We obtained very interesting results. We saw that actually models, like including ChatGPT, GPT-4, create many hallucinations and edit new information while they transform text into unbiased version. And they change writing styles that would be harmful for, especially if the editors maybe is inexperienced, maybe it could discourage. So you can find more details about our expert evaluation and our fine-tuned T5 model at our paper, which is recently accepted to workshop. It's co-located calling RAIC 2024, which is one of top conference in AI domain. We also created a development data set with editors in our team, and we hired external editors from different organizations, and they label our publicly available bias data set into our, according to our codebook definitions. This development data set is used to evaluate different type of prompts, and we, thanks to this data set, we decided to use ChatGPT as the backbone model for bias blocker. And once we selected the best option, we integrated into user interface. In this slide, you find the details about codebook prompt. It includes definitions from our codebook, as well as an additional task, which is formatting task. This task is really important because it transforms results from the model into a machine-readable format. In this way, we can integrate results into any user interface. We evaluated this codebook prompting for English and Arabic. We use different variations. For English, for example, we use simple prompt that I mentioned previously as a baseline approach. And we use codebook. We just give all definitions and formatting tasks, and codebook plus examples that our editors constructed. And for Arabic, we tried codebook in English, and we tried codebook completely rewritten in Arabic, and also examples were in Arabic. And lastly, we tried codebook in English, but the examples are in Arabic language. And the blue highlighted text, so codebook plus examples for English and codebook in English plus examples in Arabic are the best performing approaches according to our development dataset. But one issue we saw that we had many formatting errors. So large language models are really sensitive to format into machine-readable format. This is problematic when we want to integrate the results into user interface. Of course, we learned many challenges, limitations, and we have to-dos in the future. So we would like to increase the size of the data sets labeled by editors to cover more use cases. And ideally, when we have enough data set, we would like to perform more comprehensive evaluations, and we would like to train private large language models. Currently, our approach is depending on ChatGPT, and this is actually problematic for preserving privacy. When we have enough data, we would like to use open source language model and fine-tune on our own data sets. And of course, we would not limit ourselves to only in English or Arabic. We would like to support different languages and different cultural contexts. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Ipek and Defne. Defne, I want to come to you. Can you tell us more about some of the challenges you faced during the development and implementation of this tool, both before and during the fellowship, and probably afterwards? Because so essentially, once they've sort of participated on the fellowship and created this plugin, the participants would showcase a version of this at the JournalismAI Festival in December. And so, yeah, perhaps maybe share the challenges during the program, and it's been a couple of months since then, so perhaps some of the challenges as you've been working on this platform thereafter.
Sure. So in order to get accepted into the program, we all had to pitch our own ideas. And there was this matchmaking session where all of the journalists basically talked to each other, talk about their ideas, and discussed what we could do together as a team, apart from the individual ideas that we had. And when we got together, we were sure that we wanted to tackle the issue of bias and discrimination in journalism, but it's a huge topic, and there are so many angles that you can see this through. And we got together and we wrote this really long pitch idea, which included everything in it. We wanted to do everything, and that was one of the biggest challenges that we kept remembering throughout the process, I guess, like less is more. Keep it short, keep it intact, and don't try to overdo it. And so we had to narrow down our pitch and the topics that we wanted to tackle, and all the things from to-do list were moved to the future work department. And that was one thing as a challenge. And it was really interesting to talk with our partners who had a different background, language background, especially the team from Arish, who were working on the Arabic development of the project, because they had completely different issues that they wanted to tackle when it came to bias. And we had really long discussions about what is bias anyway. I mean, we are all biased in a way, that is for sure, but it doesn't mean that there is nothing to do about prejudices and stereotypes that are evident in the media and increasing according to many reports. So we took a lot of time in discussing what do we mean by bias, what do we want to do with it, and if this is biased, who says so? And in the end, we came up with the categorization that I just showed above, which looks quite technical, but it works for all of us who work in different languages. That was the common ground that we came up with. But narrowing it down and working in a multilingual setting was a challenge. And another one was the data restriction, which was a huge package that came with time restriction, money restriction, capacity in person, who would do building the infrastructure for the annotation tool, how the editors would communicate with one another. Yeah, I think I can sum it up in this way.
What about technical challenges? How did you guys sort of overcome those, or what were they, especially working with 3 other technologists within the group?
Yeah, AI is evolving very rapidly. For example, just recently, the Meta has announced new language model, and when you have, for example, researcher mindset, it's really challenging to keep it up. Like, you want to try out different large language models and to see how they perform. When there is a time and budget limitations, you are kind of limited to try out everything. You need to finalize what works best based on time and budget. Of course, when there are many new models and approaches, you need to quickly learn how to use them. And another sort of technical challenge is communication between a technical person and editors. We are using different jargons, and we sometimes misunderstand each other. The way of tackle this challenge, we had to communicate almost every day. And if we have any questions, we ask. And when, for example, we have a question about technical stuff, my solution was to visualize it within a prototype or showing some visual diagram so that we find a common language. Then I can get really constructive, useful feedback from editors.
What about collaboration? How did that help, if it did in any way? What are some of sort of the challenges you had with collaboration, or even successes?
Oops. So you can't do everything on your own. I mean, there is no one who can do all the AI prompts and editorial guidelines in multiple languages anyway. I would highly doubt that. So you need partners. You have people who care about the similar issues that will be willing to work on the topics that you collaboratively care about. And that's one of the main things that I really liked about the fellowship, because I had this idea, and I didn't know about Ipek before I applied to this fellowship, even though we were together in the same organization, let alone other organizations. So not just in-house, but also outside of the house, we really managed to collaborate and find and get to know new people that were interested in tackling the same issues. That was really great, and we had a clear job division about the tasks that we wanted to complete. So Ipek was responsible for developing the backend and the AI model. Khalid from Arij was responsible for the front-end part. Kevin was responsible for the annotations. Marianne was responsible for the documentation, etc. So having clear job divisions and making sure that everyone is happy with what they're doing the best was really one of the things that helped us achieve our goals throughout this process.
Awesome. I'm going to open it up to questions in about 2 minutes. I hope we have a roving mic. But before we get there, Ipek, looking at, I know you shared a slide about future development of the plugin, right? And it's in early stages. You haven't implemented this yet in the news organization. Can you highlight some of sort of the benefits of using a plugin like this in a newsroom?
Yeah, sure. Yes. So I think to improve a plugin, we need to collaborate with more technical people and journalists, potentially from different organizations. Because, as I said previously, development of an ideal bias blocker platform is costly. For example, there are open source language models, and they are really good to control your data, and you make sure that you can adapt these models quickly. But one of big challenge is, especially for media news organizations, you need to spend so much money for hosting these models and training these models. While I was looking some candidate language models, I saw that, for example, Llama 2 from Meta language model, when you want to train and to host in a server, you need to spend €1,000 for hosting it. But for ChatGPT, for example, we uploaded €100 credit, and we were able to try out different prompts and approaches. So there is a drawback. I know that using ChatGPT would be not reliable, especially for pre-publication phase, where editors check articles before publication. We are not sure that how they use our data. Maybe they use our data for training next generation model. But for prototyping stage, it's efficient, less costly way. So I think many organizations need to collaborate, support each other, and train their own large language models where everyone from the world can use it.
And speaking of opportunities, where would you say, Defne also come in here, where would you say are the opportunities or where's the blueprint for somebody trying to build the same plugin or similar platform?
I would say don't try to reinvent the wheel and work with what you already know, what you already are interested in, and especially as journalists and editors, like, we are not technologists. We are not usually able to catch up with the latest that is happening in the prompting world, let's put it in that way. But AI is a really powerful tool, a technology that you can use. It's a mean to achieve your ends. So focus on the stuff that you really find problematic, and focus on the stuff that you are facing, seeing as a problem on a daily level. So no one's going to know it better than you, what the challenges are in journalism, and no one's going to really push for it unless someone actually pushes you to that direction. So use it as a mean to know what you do best, I would say.
Cool. Do we have any questions from the floor?
Hi, my name's Sophia. You've mentioned the pricing, which was so interesting about ChatGPT, but why have you worked with ChatGPT as opposed to working with, say, Claude or some of the other LLMs that have been emerging?
Mm-hmm. It's a good question. So we start our collaboration in last summer, and at that time the models such as Claude were not so popular, and we didn't have time to integrate our approach to new models. That's why we limited ourselves, Llama 2, GPT-4, and ChatGPT. You can check our paper that we saw. Llama 2 is actually performing worse than ChatGPT for our task. And it creates more hallucinations than ChatGPT by adding new information.
Go ahead.
I would like to add something to that. So we experimented with the models available at the time we were building the model, and we gave the task of debiasing to these models and checked how they performed with the same sentences, and then a set of annotators evaluated how it fit our journalistic standards, how it fit to the standards that we developed. So we checked if it changed the context, if it removed any information, if it changed the voice of the writer, etc. So after this phase of evaluation, actually we decided to use ChatGPT and let the others go away. And it was really interesting because we saw a lot of hallucinations, as Ipek just mentioned, especially with Llama 2, and it was just adding things that weren't there. This doesn't mean that ChatGPT is the most reliable thing ever. Go and use it out, but we tried to see how it fit our purpose, and that's how we also came up with the idea of using that.
Yes.
Thanks very much for sharing this amazing project. Can you expand a little bit on the expert evaluation process? I'm curious how many editors were involved and how did you recruit them? And more importantly, was there a process of training the experts first to let them know that what kind of standards they need to apply to evaluate the machine's work? Thank you.
Thank you. So for each language, meaning Arabic and English, we had approximately 5 annotators, right? And for the English, 5, yeah. And where we evaluated the same. So we all evaluated the same sentences. We built this annotation tool where the editor would go see the topic and check on the boxes that we gave previously. So they would go out and tell what you just saw on our app in person. So they would go and say, this sentence is biased, yes or no? Yes. What is the bias topic? Gender, ethnicity, you choose. They would just select all this stuff and then correct the sentences themselves. And there were 5 of them for English, 6 or 6 of them in English, yeah. And some of them were us as journalists. So our team members from ABC News Australia and me, and we hired 3 external annotators with the money given by the LSE Fellowship. Also, it was I think 4 annotators for the English, for the Arabic language, where they work themselves, and they also work with experts on gender in particular, who were experts on the field. And that's how we annotated the data set. It was a small team. It wasn't as big as one might expect, so it was easy to communicate in between us. So we had meetings in between us and talk about the concepts, how we want to see things, what we understand about, let's say, demographic bias and what the examples could be. And then with the technology that Ipek used, we came up with, how do you call it? What's the technical name for it?
We use some metrics to identify the gold samples from our annotators, and then we compare against the results of the models.
And it worked the best. So there was annotator agreement, the best among the tasks of detecting bias. So there is bias, yes or no, the topic of it, and the revision part was not that successful. So there we decided that we need more data about it and more annotations.
For English data set, it's based on publicly available data sets, so we add new annotations. And I don't remember exactly, but it's a small data set. It's 1,000 samples, which is actually not enough for training a private large language model. And for Arabic part, we got many samples, but agreed samples were like 2,000, 3,000.
Do you have any other questions? To close it off, I want to get an idea from you guys. You mentioned future opportunities. What sort of are the next steps for this plugin at DW, but also with your other partners from ABC and Arij?
So the fellowship is over. It ended in December, and since then we are talking with partners in-house and outside of the house. We are currently trying to figure out what are the needs of journalists, so trying to get feedback on what could be useful for them, what need on a daily basis, and we are trying to get this feedback and try to improve the infrastructure of the prototype that we have. And also we are currently talking with two institutions at universities who are interested in being powered by the prototype that we developed and using the data set. So it would be right of me to name names because it's not settled yet, but also not within our departments, organizations, but outside of our organizations. We are currently trying to cooperate, and feel free to approach to us if you're interested in that as well. And yeah, and also as a result of the feedbacks that we had, as a result of the stuff that we discussed, we are thinking of implementing new features, as in being able to write the sort of journalistic text that you're working with, because it really depends if you are working with an agency material or if it's an opinion piece. The levels of bias, sensitivity, and detection would differ. So that is, for instance, one of the practical things that would help journalists.
Yeah, as Defne said, we try to collaborate with academic institutions, and also, for example, we are currently talking with one of institute in Germany. We would like to implement a large language model specific to European languages, and we end goal is to create a large language model creates no hallucination, and bias detection is one of use case that we want to try out.
Is important for everybody to hear about. No? Any other final questions? And questions, I'm going to close it. Thank you so much for joining us. We have currently our new fellowship that will take place in a couple of weeks' time. We're always looking for mentors, for coaches to help our teams realize the goals. So if you do have technical editorial expertise for some of the teams, please check them out on our website, journalismai.info. You will see a list of those teams there, and do reach out. And you can also find me as well on Tshepo at journalismai.info. Happy to chat with everybody regarding the fellowship or any of the programs that we run. Thank you so much, and thank you for coming to our session.